Oh man, it's time for another episode of No Label Live, the show all about labels and how they can be your biggest adversity or your biggest advantage. The choice is yours. Each week we bring on inspiring guests to share their story about how labels have impacted their life and the work that they do. So let's strap in and join this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? It's your man Nathan. If you are seeing me, it's Friday, it's 7 p.m., and it's time for another episode of No Label Live, where we talk to leaders about the labels that have impacted their life and how you can use your label to either be your adversity or your advantage, but the choice is yours. And today I've got life coach, podcaster, motivational speaker, Camille Joyce, joining me today. Camille, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Nathan. How are you?
Oh man, it's great. Anytime I can hop on and have amazing conversations, it's a good day.
Yeah, we have really great conversations. I have really enjoyed them.
Yeah, me as well. So, Camille, I want you to tell the viewer, the listener, what you are up to in the world.
Absolutely. Like Nathan said, am a life coach. I'm a motivational speaker, a writer, a podcaster. I predominantly focus on individuals who have been emotionally abused. So that would be whether that's through religious experiences, relationship experiences, or just messages that they have heard that they are inadequate or incapable because of maybe their sexuality or just simply from them being who it is that they are. So I empower individuals to break free and reclaim their life because I believe that everyone deserves to live their life in freedom and happiness. And oftentimes, some of those pains and those things that we hold on to, that emotional abuse, can be contributors to whether or not people are really living the life that they want, that they desire, and that they deserve to live.
Absolutely. I mean, emotional abuse can be a heavy thing. It's definitely something where I know people who are experiencing it have some sort of label that's definitely attached to it. And I like what you do with your coaching because you do it through um, the hero's journey. That's one of your big things. So, can you tell us a little bit about why that's one of the frameworks that you like to use with the people you work with?
That's a really great question. I love it. I love the hero's journey. I believe in it. And I believe that we all go through a process, and it may not necessarily be that specific structure, right? And hearing your call to adventure, and then seeking the assistance, and then facing the hardships, and so everybody has a unique, specific journey that they go through. But I do believe that general idea, that general structure, that framework gives us an idea of the processes that we go through in life, and it's reoccurring. So it doesn't happen once and then you're done. You go
Oh
through
man.
go through it again, and then you go through it again. But each time, what is really special about that process is that you have a choice, like what you said in your introduction. You have a choice to choose how you are going to learn from those experiences, and how you're going to take that and be the hero for yourself, and then take that into the world and help the world improve.
Mm, mm. Yeah, absolutely. So, what have you learned about yourself on your own hero's journey?
Yes, my journey has been, of course, unique and specific to me. But what I have found that everybody has similar or commonalities, I guess, amongst their experiences, although they are packaged different and everybody experiences different things, we've got a lot more in common than what we realize. And in my journey, I'm going to kind of go back. I
Mm-hmm.
was raised in a pretty, I would say, conservative, sort of black and white faith. And it has shaped me and who it is that I am, and it has contributed to who it is that I am today. But what I found is that it was not the healthiest of the places for me. And the overarching message that I heard as a woman was that in order for me to have God's love or to be worthy enough to be in God's presence was that I had to be with a man. And that
Mm,
otherwise, if I didn't have that, then I didn't have any place in his kingdom, or was worthy of his presence or of his love in this life. And so when I experienced that at a very young age, I was a young girl, a child. I couldn't articulate what it was that I was hearing, but overall it had impact on me. And as I grew up and started realizing and paying attention to what it was that I was experiencing in my life, and the messages that had uh, contributed to some of my internal pains and struggles that I've faced in life, I have been able to go back and kind of pinpoint where a lot of it was coming from. And I truly believe that a lot of it was just some of those messages. And I don't know necessarily if that is just, well, I shouldn't say I don't know, but I believe that a lot of it is cultural, right? That maybe some of
mhm.
those ideas are just not fully understood, and so the messages come out wrong. Um, but I've learned that it's something that it's taking a lot of self work, right, to go back and realize this is what it is that I've experienced. This is how I need to help myself, and this is how I'm going to help others.
Yeah, I remember, I can relate to that story in a different way. I remember walking into my first first day of college and talking to people as we were waiting to get into our classes. And so we're in all these freshman classes, and I'm talking to this girl. She's like, "Yeah, me and my husband." I'm like, "What? You're 18 years old. What are you saying? You have a husband?" And that was the overarching thing that happened a lot where I went to school, and I went to a religious school as well, and that just seemed to be the expectation that was placed on individuals. And I think it can go across both genders, being a man and a woman, that, okay, if we're going to do this, we're expected to be married by X date, by X age. And I was like, there's no way. I'm not ready for that. So I can understand that pressure for sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It is. I've seen and I've observed, of course, that there are some relationships that start very young and they thrive and they do well. They go through the challenges together and they come out together, and it is good, right? But
Hmm.
I think we have to be really, really in tune with who it is that we are, and pay attention, because we can find ourselves in situations where we are living our life to meet the expectations of that society, that culture, maybe that religion, whatever that may be, and we're not in accordance with who it is that we are, and we may not really know what is going on, if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah. We're like,
Yeah.
got blinders on, and we can only see what's right in front of us when there's a whole world on either other side of us, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, as you've discovered this for yourself, and your awareness increased, what's something that was really surprising as you started to do the work that you do, um, that only happened through you going through your journey?
Yeah, well, I didn't realize that until many, many years later. And uh, of course, my journey also involved getting married and marrying a man and doing all the things, right? Checking all the boxes. And
Mhm.
making sure I'm doing all the right things, right? Because I believe in God. I believe in a higher power, whatever that is, universe, God. But, because I have that belief, I want that approval and that acceptance and, all of those things that I'm told. In order for you to have this, you do this. And so I followed all of those steps. And many years later, I realized that I was not living in accordance with who it is that I am. And I had made many sacrifices that actually ended up hurting me. Um, but they were good, if that makes sense. Like, it was all very purposeful. And I realized that I had to get out of the marriage, and I had to have a divorce in order for me to live the life that I knew
Mhm.
was, is meant for me, and so that I can be happy and free. And so y- during that process, during all of those years, I went to school. I'm a very creative person, so I love design and graphic design, and so I went to school for web design and interactive media, and that was my path, right? That is what
Mhm.
I believed that I was going to be doing. And I had started my own business. This was back in 2008, 2009. So pretty soon after I had gotten married. And so that business was with me all along the way. And it wasn't until I realized that I had to get out of the marriage in order for me to save myself, essentially, uh, and um, and live that happier, freer life that I knew I needed. It wasn't until then that I started writing, and I put out my blog, and I realized that that was very therapeutic for me. And just one thing has kind of led to another, and that's what's led me to where I am today. And that was the most surprising part. I never, at any point in my life prior, growing up as a child, or throughout the marriage and everything, I never imagined that I would be a life coach, or consider
Yeah.
things like psychology, going back to school. I went to school, and now here I am, like, thinking about going and wanting to go back again, getting my degree, so in something completely different. It's like, so that was the most surprising thing for me. And then I've gained a lot of understanding about who it is that I am, what it is that I deserve, and what it is I don't deserve, and being
Mhm.
strong enough in myself of saying, no, I'm not going to tolerate, this sort of behavior. This is not healthy to me. And being okay with that, no matter what anybody thinks. I've had
Yeah.
to learn not to let that sort of stuff have effect. So
So if there's somebody, because I know this is a big thing, if there's somebody who's struggling right now with stuff going on in their life, and specifically whatever it is, because we all have our different thing, but they're struggling with what you just talked about setting boundaries, what's a piece of advice you could give them about one simple way to get started?
yes, a simple way. um, I don't know that it is as simple as we'd like for it to be,
Yeah.
but you first have to become aware of who it is that you are, and believe in yourself.
Mm.
If I don't know who I am, if you don't know who you are, if Sally doesn't know who she is, or John, or whoever it is, they don't know who they are, how can they even set a boundary of
Mm.
anything? They don't know what they're setting. And so it takes the experiences, it takes going through these moments and these times in our lives to say, okay, I'm going to pay attention here. And what is it that I experience? What is it that I like about it? What is it that I don't like about it? And that can help you start developing your boundaries. But it is first knowing who it is that you are, and having that strength in yourself to take some time to do that.
Yeah, I like that so much. So what I heard is figuring out who you are, and maybe one of the things you said, figuring out what you like, what you don't like, maybe that means that you do something new, like you journal about what showed up in your life uh, that day for a week or 2 weeks, something like that, so that you can get a concrete picture of what feelings and what emotions have shown up for you throughout whatever that period is for you.
Yeah, journaling is a really big deal. It's hard to do. I know it's hard to do. I have times where it's like, ugh, I gotta sit down and write, but we've got access to technology. We've got access to our phones constantly. You know, it's just a pickup of the wrist and, hey, device, do this
Yeah.
thing, make a note, right? So we have a lot more conveniences to help us through these processes and through these times that we go through. And it's just how do we use them as tools
Hmm.
rather than having them control us. We are the ones in control, right? We are the ones taking control of ourselves and taking control of our lives and taking control of the tools that we have to allow us to identify those boundaries, to identify who it is that we are, what it is that we are experiencing.
Once somebody figures out who they are and kind of what their experience is, what do you think um, the next step would be for them? Like if I'm working with you and I said, "Oh man, I did this journaling exercise and here's what I learned about myself, but I'm still on the fence. Like there's been a lot of hurt, abuse, and I'm still like trying to work on that trust even with my own self." What would you tell me?
Well, healing takes time, and we are in a world and in a system where there are ideas that everything has to happen right away.
Mhm.
And so, understanding and being patient with oneself and knowing that, you know, when you gain the knowledge, then the next step is applying it. But how can you apply it if you don't have the experiences? And I know in my own personal life, there's something I've learned something. It's like, okay, I got it. And then I experienced something where I could apply it, and it's like, oh dang,
Yeah.
I forgot. you know, Try again, right? So we continue, you like we've talked about before, and your belief in crash and burn. You hit the
Mhm.
pavement, you keep going, you get up, and you do it again. And I believe that our life is like this overall structure, this building block structure of these experiences and who it is that we are, and they all build on one another to create this overall life, and they're all made up of blocks, and so we have to continue to try, we have to continue to build ourselves up, and then oop, did I lose you?
There we go.
um and just knowing that uh it's going to take you some time to keep practicing, keep trying what it is that you've learned when you go through your experiences, and then it becomes second nature. That's really the core of who it is that you are aligned with, and then you're not even thinking about it anymore.
Mhm. So I liked when you were using the building blocks. I liked that because it reminded me that every day we're building something that's a big one part of our life. The funny thing is, I think as humans, we think that we've got this vision of what we're building, but we can't always step outside of the building to look at the full picture, and we don't actually take the time to step back and say, "Holy crap! Look at what I've created thus far." We're
Right.
always striving for, well, I'm not at my final destination yet, but we haven't looked at, well, I started with one block and I've got like a whole foundation laid now. That's pretty good work. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
and I just wonder, if we were more aware of that, what that could create for people.
Yeah, and essentially that's the overall process when people work with me, is that you go through this journey, you go through this process, and I'm going to go through it with you, and I'm going to walk
Mm,
with you, and I'm going to be beside you, and I'm going to be here. And the idea that, oh, I've got to have the structure, I've got to have everything perfect right away, that's not congruent with my values and what it is that I teach. And so when you go through that process, you realize, okay, this is what I have done, this is what it is that I've learned. And you take some time to step back, to look at where you are, what you've accomplished, what you've achieved. And part of it too is going through and saying, well, where have you gone? Because you already have some of that structure built already. And so we work through some of those blocks that you've already established, and then we work on the next blocks that you're going to establish. And so it equips people with the ability to go out and continue to build on themselves, so that they can have uh, a strong, sturdy structure, right? And number
yeah,
one, the most important thing is having that firm foundation.
yeah,
And a lot of times, because we go through these expectations, all different sorts of facets and aspects of life that can contribute, that make us have this wobbly, you know,
yeah,
foundation. And so we're not steady. So we got to work on the foundation, which is oneself. Let's overcome some of the things that you face. Let's work through that. And then the beautiful part uh, starts happening. The whole thing is beautiful to me, but
yeah, yeah. And I think it's interesting because I think it doesn't matter who you are, where you're at in life. I think that this, like you said earlier, is an ongoing thing. Like as you were
yeah,
talking, I was thinking about where I'm at right now, and one of the things that's coming up for me is that idea of, am I really speaking into my own, what I believe truly in my heart, 100%. This is what I want to create. This is why I want to create it. And I think I'm experiencing those own expectation things come up for myself where, okay, what do I really want? What do I really want? Not what does the outside world tell me I should have. So yeah, it's, if you're sitting here and you're relating to this, guess what? Welcome to being a human.
yeah, yeah. And it's part of this life. And that's what's so fun about it.
Yeah.
Is that we have this opportunity to figure it out, right? We have an opportunity to decode what it is that we're
Mm,
experiencing and what it is that we're going through, so that we can just be more in line with who it is that we are. But we have to be really, really clear, really pay attention to what it is, because a word that you said is should. And that's part of our vocabulary. It's a word that I use, but it's a word that I'm really weary of, because
mhm.
we can have shoulds for ourselves. Other people can have shoulds for other people. You should be doing this. Well, you know what what does that mean? Is that based on what you believe is best for me?
Yeah.
And so how we our language and how it is that we talk, and that takes time and practice too. And I really believe, I don't care where somebody is on the spectrum of age, right?
Mhm.
Everybody is learning, and everybody has an opportunity, no matter where they are, to learn, no matter how much life experience they have, and wisdom, which is very, very special, right? Because they,
Mhm.
it for our elders who have walked this earth before us, they have great life
Yeah.
experiences and have learned so much. But I do challenge it a little bit, because I believe that we can all learn from each other. And and when we place expectations on one another, and this you should do this and you should do this, and then when we place those expectations on ourselves, it can cause chaos
Yeah.
amongst
You're button
the whole
heads. Yeah.
yeah, amongst everybody. And
Hmm.
another piece to this, I'm just thinking about it, is trust too, and trusting the individual that what it is that they're doing the best they can, and what it is they know, and they're trying to figure out this
Mm.
life, right? So, for me to say, oh, Nathan, you should be uh, you should be doing X, Y, and Z, right? Whatever it is you're working on, whatever it is you're striving for, just being at peace and not feeling like, oh, I've got to fix Nathan because I believe
Yeah.
Nathan should be doing this. And so we have to we have
Yeah.
to pay attention to how we're doing that with each other, and also uh, being gentle with ourselves,
Mm.
because there is so much of that outside noise. Like you said, you can start paying attention to those expectations and all these other ideas of what you should be doing. Are you really paying attention to that inner voice and what you feel is right, that is best for you, and how you want to live your life, and the work that you want to do, and the people that you want to help?
Hmm.
That's really what it is about.
Yeah, I really like the idea of trust, and I want to dive into that a little bit more. And here's something that I'm coming to believe. I believe that trust, and if you want to build your confidence, you must figure out how to create safety. In whatever it is you're doing, your confidence is going to increase with safety. And I think that's a huge part of building trust. So, uh, what are some of the core components for you when it comes to building trust?
The number one most important is trust is built when someone's behaviors match their words over time.
Mm.
And so, again, number one, I work on the self. And when I work with individuals, that's our focus. We're not trying to fix other people, we're not trying to control other people. The only person you have control over is yourself. And
Hmm.
so, in order for you to trust yourself, trust is built when someone's words match their behavior, or the behavior match their words, however you want to say it. But either way, same idea. But
Hmm.
their words match their behavior over time, right? So what you number one, what you're telling yourself, and then behaving that way, then you can start building that trust. And uh, well, let me take a step back. Are positive things that you're saying to yourself, right? What's that self-talk?
Hmm.
What are you doing for yourself to help yourself? And you continue those behaviors, then you'll start building that trust in yourself. And then I believe, trust is a tricky thing. Somebody can do something and it breaks your trust,
Uh-huh.
right? Um, and you're just like, whoa, what just happened? But
Hmm.
we can do that for ourselves too. And but we also have to be careful with ourselves and be gentle with ourselves and take care of ourselves and say, okay, no, I'm not perfect. I'm going to try again. I'm going to work on this again, and try a different behavior that is going to be congruent with who it is that I am, and helping myself improve. And then that confidence is built. Um, is
Yeah.
that making sense?
Yeah. So I really like the fact, and I subscribe to this as well, that for us to do anything that we want that's outside of ourselves, like in our community, in our family, it all really does come back to us. We're the only person we have control over. Even if we we hope so much that we can control the people in our lives, we can't control what they're gonna do.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so it does really start with the trust that we build within ourselves. And I think you said it a couple of times that compassion is huge.
Yeah. It really is. There are lots of pieces to this, and it would take going back and watching it and writing it all down, because there's so much to this life. This life isn't that simple. But one of the biggest lessons that I've learned many, and I'm still learning. But in the marriage that I experienced is, I believed that you create a home that is beautiful and is inviting and just this, you do all of these things, and it will protect you, right, emotionally. And it didn't matter what it is that I did. The other person had their, and I'm going to use the word agency, but their choice. They had their choice. I couldn't take it. Didn't matter. It didn't matter what it is that I did. The other person has a right to their own life and to make his own decisions. And so that was the biggest lesson for me, is that, you know what, this is about me. What is it that I am doing for myself? And then if other people make their choices and they do things that aren't healthy for you, well, then you have a choice to decide what it is you're going to do. Are you going to stay in it? Are you going to leave? What are you going to do? You are the master of your fate. You are the captain of your soul. It's not you're the captain and the master of that person. And all the things that you're going to do in the home that you create, and all of your efforts are going to control that person, or not control, but just um, uh, ensure that safety. You are the one who can protect yourself, and uh, people can choose what it is that they want to do.
Oh,
And so
I love that. So if you're watching, you are the one.
you're the one.
You are the one. And it's
Yep, yep,
all about your choices. Does that
that's right.
mean does that mean you have to make your choices on your own? No, absolutely not. But at the end of the day, you have to make the decision to take whatever action it is that you're going to take.
Yes, yeah, and I learned in that experience that you do it for you, and you do things for other people too. This isn't about pride and um, you know, doing everything for yourself, right? Selfishness,
Mhm.
because we do things for other people, and we try to create spaces, and we like to cook for people, and we love to create that community, right? But what people do is up to them. And I found that when you're in line with yourself, and you're doing what you love and what is best for you, then the people who come in are going to appreciate it, and they're going to
Mhm.
respect it, and they're going to respect you. And if they don't, it's not your problem, right? It's not you.
Yeah.
And then you have you're able to let go a lot easier, and not care really. And then those pains, it
Mhm.
doesn't affect you that way.
Yeah, yeah, and that letting go is is so huge. Like I think everybody should always listen to the Let It Go theme song from Frozen, because it
No.
makes the biggest difference in the world. And it's not easy. It's simple, but it's not easy to do that.
Yeah.
So how can people connect with you if they
The
want to
best
learn more?
Yeah, the best way to connect with me, you can visit my website at theheroicsoul.com. You can also find me on social media. That is the best way, and I would love for you to connect with me. It is at the Heroic Soul. So you can search for me there on Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is the more used social media platform, I guess, for me.
Okay.
But you can find me on either Instagram or Facebook.
And if I'm somebody and I'm looking for a speaker, what like, who are you speaking to specifically?
hmm So I speak on a lot of different topics, but in particular, I speak on emotional abuse, suicide prevention, self-worth, discrimination, bullying. I'm also an ally and an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. So those topics, they all are kind of umbrellaed, uh, or can be umbrellaed under, the general topic of emotional abuse, because there are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of individuals in that community, and a lot of people who are discriminated against for being who it is that they are. Um, those are the main topics, and youth in particular, they are going through so much, and they need those mentors. They need to know that they are worthy. I just lost you
Mm-hmm.
again.
There
Are
we
you there?
go. Yeah.
um, and so those audiences as well, but just you know people. I'm here to save souls. I'm here to save lives and just help people know that they have tremendous self-worth and that they are worthy.
Mm. So I've got two more questions.
Sure.
Um, First, I want you to think like right now, today is your last day. You're on your deathbed and you're actually going to have a conversation. And that conversation is with the younger version of yourself. And I want you to think, what's that one piece of advice you're going to give your younger self so that she can carry it through and it will shape from the very beginning, like that journey for self confidence?
hmm um, be true to who you are.
Mm.
There's a lot more to that. It's
Yeah.
deeper. It's not that easy, but really be true to who it is that you are.
Mm. Powerful.
Mhm.
And then the final question, what does no label defines me mean to you?
Well, Nathan, you have taught me so much about that, because what I have learned in my conversations with you is that I choose what labels I want and what labels I don't want.
Mm.
So I will allow healthy labels for myself, labels that are going to be aligned with who it is that I am, and I will not allow unhealthy labels of I labels of worthlessness. You are not worthy. You are not good enough. Those sorts of demeaning, degrading labels that are intended to silence people.
Mm. Silence people. Yeah, that's a powerful way to put it. That sure does happen a lot with labels. Um, Man, is there anything that we didn't talk about today that you want to leave the audience with?
We've covered a lot. We can go a lot longer, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But no, I just would encourage people to go to watch this, go back and watch it again. If you have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to Nathan. We are here for you. We love you. You are just beautiful in exactly who it is that you are, whether your sexuality, whether your race, whether your gender, uh, your culture, your religion, all of those labels, right?
Hmm.
You are beautiful. You are loved, truly loved. And that is why we do the work that we do, because we love you and we know how worthy you are. And just let us know if you need anything.
Yeah. Um, Go back, like Camille said, watch this episode and if you found value in this, make sure and share it out with your friends. Make sure and tell them about it, because the only way that this message is going to spread is through you and through you saying, hey, you should check this out. And if you're seeing this, you know that you are up to big things. And when you're up to big things, you must be patient, you must be diligent, and you must never, never quit and never apologize for being you. No label should ever define you. Your label should always empower you. And with that, you can catch us again next Friday.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of No Label Live. If you enjoyed it, make sure and share it with a friend and tag me. Let me know your thoughts on the episode. Connect with me on YouTube and Instagram at _Nathan_Todd. And make sure and let a friend know that they are more than their label. They matter, and they are one step away from their success. And remember, my friend, you're up to big things. And when you're up to big things, you must be patient, you must be diligent, and you must never, never quit. And you can catch new episodes of No Label Live here every Friday.